Hello and welcome to my kitchen. I'm back at the kitchen island today and I am in the middle of a project and I thought, wait, this is the perfect project for me to share with you to show you how to use those strips that we cut up. Today I am working on a very simple, it's just a half square triangle quilt. I only have it this far along, but it's kind of fun. It's very scrappy and eclectic. And if you notice some of the prints right here, if you're a football fan, this is Iowa Hawkeyes. And I'm from Iowa and I needed a quilt for a benefit. And one of the best things that I can do for a benefit quilt is to make a quilt that appeals to the people who will be going to the benefit. And we have lots of Iowa fans around here. So Iowa Hawkeyes it is. And better yet, Blog Reader sent me a bunch of pieces, here's one here, of half square triangles that were already sewn up. I think they were leftovers from a project she must have been working on. Here's another one up here in the corner here. I can recognize those fabrics. And she was no longer interested in using those pieces, so she sent me 36 half square triangles, and I decided that I would just add to them and I would make an Iowa Hawkeyes quilt that I will donate to a benefit later on as the time comes that I need a donation quilt. So I'm super excited about it. It's very fun and eclectic. I only have it this wide so far, but I have more going. I have more strips here that are sewn together, and these strips are ready to be added to the quilt. So it's building really fast. If you're a blog reader of mine, my blog is joescountryjunction.com. You probably even haven't heard me talk about this project yet because I just started it this week. And already I have this, and if there's 4 strips already here ready to be sewn on, and it looks like I have 6 strips already sewn together. I'm not being picky about how I sew them together or what fabrics go with what. So sometimes I pair a dark with a gray, sometimes it's a dark with a gray, sometimes it's a gray with a dark. It just, however they land is however they're going to land. I'm just making it super eclectic and making it easy on myself and trying not to overthink it. Too often I think we overthink the quilts that we're making. If you hear some rattling over there, I am a foster dog mom, and my foster dog is kind of moving along the kennel that he's in, so we'll just see how that goes. Hey guys. It's always something here interrupting me, isn't it? So I thought I'd show you how I cut half square triangles because that's a perfect thing to do when you're using up your stash. Before I do that though, whoops, I want to show you how I selected the fabric for this. Just a second. Sorry about that. The dog was acting up and I just kind of got things settled a little bit. So it's totally fine. So I'm back here, and like as I was saying, I want to show you how I selected the colors. The pieces that the blog reader sent me, this is one here, they're almost a darker gold versus a lemony yellow. And so when I was selecting colors for this, I was going through my stash, and I have quite a bit of Iowa Hawkeyes fabric just because I've made Iowa Hawkeyes quilts in the past because they do go really well for a benefit. I think it appeals to more people because even people who aren't quilt lovers, they're Iowa Hawkeye lovers, so they will buy a quilt because it's Iowa Hawkeyes, not necessarily because they love quilts. But, you know, sometimes I get lucky and I appeal to both audiences. So when I was pulling fabric for this, I was looking at those pieces that the blog reader had sent to me. And so this is one piece they had sent. This is another piece they sent. You can see that it almost goes to a cheddar yellow, almost an orangey yellow. But I wanted to use them for the quilt because A, I wanted to use them up because I'm super frugal about trying to use things when I can. And B, it already gave me a start on my quilt, so why not? You know, if I had 36 blocks already made, of course I want to use them. And I was super excited to just like get going on the project, and I just made me feel like I had a jump start. But I didn't want to fight those pieces that were already sent to me. So when I went to pull fabric, I made sure that my yellows were a very rich or deeper yellow. You can see here, this is probably about the brightest one I have down here, but it still complements and goes okay with this. I'm going to show you a few pieces that I didn't use in my quilt. Check out this yellow. See how it's very lemony? It could work in the quilt, and if this is all you have, that's fine. But I had more fabric that was more of the deep goldy color. You can see this one's super lemony too, and if you put it by this piece here, this is one that the blog reader sent me, it just doesn't complement as well. Even Iowa Hawkeyes print I had a very lemony yellow. And here, these grays that I had, these two grays right here, they're really a very light toned gray. And so I was looking for stuff that was all like a darker tone to it. Here's a black with a white. Here's a white print with a very cheddar color flower in it. You can see the prints that I'm using, that they're really a deeper tone of yellow, a deeper tone of gray. But then I added some whites in there too, because there is quite a bit of white in the Iowa Hawkeye prints. You can see where it says Iowa here. And so I just kind of took these and I thought, I'm not going to use these unless I have to. I'm going to see how much fabric I have and just hold off on using these. If I end up having to use them, that's fine. But I really think I could make the quilt without using the lemony yellow and keeping with the richer gold yellow and the richer grays and not the white based grays, the ones that are really white. So I set these aside, and then I pulled strips, and I pulled fabric and cut strips. It just so happened that the blog reader who sent me these pieces, everything that she sent me is at 1 1/4 inches. So I thought I'd talk to you a little bit about what I'm going to do about that. Do I want to cut them down to 3.5 inches, or do I want to leave them at 1 1/4 inches? I decided I was going to leave them at 1 1/4 inches, which that meant that I couldn't use my scrap saver system for this quilt, but you could easily use your scrap saver system for this quilt. You could use 3.5 inch strips and make all of your squares or all of your half square triangles at 3.5 inches. Or if you keep 5-inch pieces, you could use all of your pieces at 5-inch pieces. That would make a very nice quilt as well. So I already have these cut. I cut mine at 4 1/4 just because I'm trying to match the pieces that the blog reader sent me. And I have a whole pile of strips here. And what I'm going to do that, to cut them, is I'm going to use this easy angle ruler. I'm a big fan of an easy angle ruler. It allows you to use all of the strips that you have and make them into half square triangles. Easy peasy. So I'm going to show you how I do that, and I'm going to flip the camera to do that, and I will be right back. Okay, I'm at the cutting table, and hopefully you can see everything I'm doing. Can you see my fingers? I hope so. So I'm going to grab a strip of fabric. And as I said, you can do this with any size of strip that you determine that you want to make your block size. So I have this Iowa Hawkeyes fabric. I'm laying that down like this. And I'm just going to pick another print. And I'm going to lay this, they'll be fine together. I'm going to lay this down on there. Smooth that out. I'm going to grab another set. I happen to have this black print, and it has some white. It just says patchwork and quilts and green and paisley. And so I'm going to lay that one right side up because I'm going to cut 2 blocks at a time when I do this. So I'm going to do that. Now I need to pick another one. I'm going to find something with some yellow in it. I have some over here I'm grabbing. How about this one? Oh, this one is a little bit wonky. It's got a thing cut off here, but we'll make that work. Okay, so I have these smoothed down and they're ready to cut. And I'm going to take my ruler and I am going to place it down on my fabric strip. I'm going to check to see if you can see that. Yep, you can. Okay, and you can see this little notch off the edge. You're going to line up the top edge with that notch. You're going to line up the bottom edge with the line right down here. And so you just don't want to do this or do this. You want to just make sure it's really carefully lined up. And I'm going to cut this off on this side. This is garbage. Then I'm going to cut like this. And here we have these ready to go. And so these will feed through the machine. I have 2 here. And this will feed through the machine like this. I'll put this corner in, and this corner's already cut off so that it won't catch and pull down into your machine, because sometimes this will pull down into the feed dogs and you'll have trouble with it. But with this top cut off, that doesn't happen. You'll be sewing from here and you'll sew all the way down to here. A lot of people get freaked out about doing half square triangle quilts or any kind of quilt with a triangle, but really just look at it. You're just going to be sewing a straight line. So as long as you're sewing a straight line, it doesn't make a difference if it's, well, it just doesn't make a difference. So here, I'm getting lined up to cut the next one. You can see I'm here on the 1 1/4" line, which is that dotted line right there. And you can see that I'm up here and I have this hanging over the edge. And I'm just gonna cut. And I have 2 more cut. I'm gonna turn my ruler again. I'm at the top here. I'm at the bottom down here. Everything is lined up. And I'm gonna cut. And then we'll do that again. Getting everything lined up. We're at the 4 1/4" inch line, and we're hanging over the edge just that right amount there, and we're gonna cut. So that's all I can cut from that strip, because this piece, as you can see right here, ran out. So something I can do is I can just pull this piece out. That'll go into my scrap pile. And then I can just grab a different print. What do I have here? How about this one? And I can lay this right on top of there. I'm going to recut a new line. So I'll use my regular ruler for that. I'm going to just re-straighten it up. I have everything lined up, and I'll make a cut, and I'll put that in my trash pile. I'm going to move this up here. Again, I'm just doing that, letting that hang over, and I'm watching that in that 4 1/4" inch line. And then I'm just cutting. So I just keep doing that, and you can see it's pretty quick and easy to cut these pieces. A lot of people, when they make half square triangles, they will take the pencil and draw the diagonal and do all of that work. I don't like to make things too hard for myself, so that's why I use this easy angle ruler. We'll put a link in the bottom in the description box on where you can find one of those. Most quilt shops handle them, but I ordered mine from Amazon. Okay, and you can see we just ran out of fabric right here. So we just have a little bit left. So I'll have to re-opt and get more fabric to cut here. Okay, something else I want to show you that I've been doing. I've been taking all the little scraps, including these, and I'm taking these and putting them in a bag. And I'm saving these together, and down the road I will make a crumb quilt or some kind of eclectic fun quilt out of these little pieces, because I try not to waste anything. I guess this one I won't be able to use, but I try not to waste anything. So I have all these little bits and pieces that are left over from as I'm cutting, and they'll all work together because I already know the fabrics already match. So I just already package them up into a bag, and that will be something that I use further down the road. So I have a few pieces cut here. I cut a few previously, and I've got a nice little stack of them here. I'm going to switch things around. I will show you my machine, and I'll show you how I sew them. So I'll be right back. Okay, I think we're situated now. I was having trouble with my camera trying to get it high enough so that you could still see me, but low enough that you could see what I'm doing. So we have our stack that we cut with our easy angle ruler. And this works, again, for any size. If you want to make them using your 3 1/2" inch strips, then just line everything up, the top with here, and then come down here and line it up at the 3 1/2" inch line. If you want to use 6 1/2" inch strips, you can use the whole ruler and just hang this part over the edge and then line it up with the bottom right down here. I love the easy angle ruler, and I have been using that for a long, long time and just love it. So I have a little machine here. My friend Isla gave it to me. Thanks so much, Isla. It is a 99K, and there is right down here is a serial number. If you're not familiar with dating a machine, you can just go to Google and type in dating my Singer sewing machine. And so I went in and I looked up the number, and mine starts with an EK, and then there's numbers behind that, but there's the letters EK before the numbers. And when I looked it up, it was made in 1955. And so Isla gave this to me, and I've been having a fun time with it. I've been using it downstairs here on the main floor. I wish it had a little case or table or something for it to stand in, because this is supposed to be a cabinet machine, but right now she's just, well, I don't even know if she's supposed to be a cabinet machine. I think she's supposed to have like a case that it sits in. But right now I'm using it just like this, and I'm loving how I'm using it. So I already put a couple pieces through, and so I'm just going to show you how I did that. I have the dog ear is already cut off on these pieces, so that's the part of the triangle that you want to put through the machine. And so I'm just feeding it through, and I'm feeding it through, and I'm watching my 1/4 inch seam and just flying that through like that. And I just keep feeding them through with that dog-eared corner going in first. Just like that. And it's really easy. I can sew a lot of these at a time. Oh. I don't know why it was doing that, but I'll look into that more later. So I just feed them through like that. It's really easy, not a problem to feed them through. And now I have a chain that is ready to go to the ironing board. I have another chain that's already here, but I purposely did that so that you could see how I iron. So I'm going to put these up here. This is a wool mat. I use the Nitto brand ironing mat. And I lay them out like this, specifically so there's like 3 on the top and 3 on the bottom. And hopefully, maybe, I think you'll be able to see that. And I have my iron plugged in back here. And so I open them up, and then I just press them. I am not a person who uses steam. If you are a person that uses steam, go for it, but I am not. I feel like it kind of shrinks my pieces, and I also feel like if I do that, it takes out the flexibility of the fabric when I go to sew the pieces into the quilt. Like if I have something that's not going to quite match up, I can pull it a little one way or the other if I don't use too much steam or starch at this point. It just gives the piece a little bit more flexibility. So now I have all of these ironed, and I iron just like that. I don't cut them apart first. I just iron them all like this, and then I go through and take my scissors and, I wonder if we can get a way for you to see this better. How about I do this? I take my scissors and I cut right here, and it cuts off that dog ear, and it cuts off the piece from the other piece. Cuts the pieces apart, and it cuts off the dog ear. So I go like this, and then this one for some reason is twisted the wrong way. But so I go like that, and then I just gather my pieces up like this, and then I have those ready and together to go to the machine to start sewing them together. When I've been sewing them together at the machine, I have just been grabbing 2 pieces, making sure the angle goes the correct direction. I just fold them together, right sides together, and I just feed them through the machine like this. And I figured out, because I didn't know how big I wanted to make the quilt, so I decided that I was going to make it, for right now, I think I'm just going to make the center be 20 pieces across by 20 pieces down, and that would make a good TV watching blanket. I'm going to sew these 2 together yet too. You can see that I'm not real picky about how I sew them together. as far as laying out colors one way or the other to make sure some touch or don't touch or anything like that. I haven't been doing. And so here they're together like this, and these are together like this. And those will likely be sewn together. I don't pay any attention to color placement, and it'll just be eclectic and fun. You can see here, I have a strip already sewn together. You can see that sometimes the dark is by the dark, sometimes it isn't. So there's the dark by the dark again. It's very just random, and I think it's really gonna be a fun quilt in the end because of the randomness. I just think it looks kind of like a watercolor almost, even though the colors are brighter than a typical watercolor quilt. I'm really excited to be working on this. I would really love to thank the blog reader who sent me the half square triangle so that I could do this. This is a great way that you can sew up some of your stash. You might not want to do this with 1.5 inch strips because it's going to take a lot of pieces in order to make your quilt. But if you are cutting up 3.5 inch pieces, if you're even doing 2.5 inch pieces, this is a quick and easy way that you can use up some scraps. I'm hoping my quilt does well at the benefit. It's been coming along really quickly. I'll tell you what I've been doing because people love to hear how I can squeeze so much sewing into a day. So I've been cutting out at my kitchen island here, and I have a bucket here that last night I snuck upstairs and I sewed a whole huge chain of pieces together. And sometime today, in the busyness of whatever's happening with my day, I have my ironing board out right here, and I'll grab my ironing board and I'll just iron all of these pieces, and I'll have them ready so that the next time when I have a few minutes to go upstairs and sew, I'll already have these ready and into half square triangles like these are. And I'll be ready to just sit down to the machine and get going. My kids call me a lot. I have 5 adult kids, and they call me, well, I would say I get a minimum of 3 calls a day and maybe up to 10 calls a day from them. So I'll just grab this and probably iron these while I chat with them and find out what's happening with the grandkids or what's happening with my own kids. And it's just a way that I can squeeze quilting into my day and still feel like I accomplished something and still be able to get a quilt done for a charity that I believe in. So I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me here today and learning how I make half square triangles. And I hope you watch my blog, joescountryjunction.com, and watch the progress of my quilt as it grows, because it's growing fast. I only started this on, I think Monday or Tuesday, and today as I'm filming it's Saturday. So my quilt is growing fast. I'm hoping in 2 weeks max to have it completely finished, and we'll see if I can reach my goal. So check out the blog. See you later. Bye.